Hey everybody, welcome to Rob in Real Time. This is your pal Rob. We're going to try reviewing this Final Faction First Impact comic. This comic I bought at Dollar Store. You can find this at the Dollar Store. And Final Faction is based on an action figure line. So much like He-Man was back in the day, you can actually check out these action figures, as you can see. So this comic is basically a big propaganda piece for selling action figures, but hey, don't hate the hustle, So let's talk about some of the features you get, okay? I'm just kind of like a common man from the street, I still occasionally buy comic books from time to time. Not all the time as I used to, because a lot of the comics, pretty much since there's like a real been downturn in comic books around 2015, and right now the American comic book industry, where at least the American comic book creators are losing a lot of their fans to anime comics. So in anime comics, because they're not as woke, and they're still they still make comics fun. So when I picked up this copy of Final Faction, I'll let you know right now, it's not woke. It's just in here you'll have 20 full color pages of comic. As I flip through this, see the print quality of the paper is what I call a semi gloss paper, semi magazine gloss paper. See right here, so staple binded. And the good thing about this comics have gone up to like $6 to $7. Comics aren't cheap anymore, man, and that's why one of the reasons why I stopped collecting them so much is because it's just the price tag alone. It's just expensive, It's like, let's just go with, okay, I spent the whole buck on this comic book. So far from the value, just looking at it, you at least got $1. At least this comic book is worth $1. And right here on the back, right here, you have all your folks who wrote the comic, and you have a script writer, you have a penciler and inker, a inking assist, a colorist, a letterer, and a spoof ad page artist. A couple of them. Like you have two people inking, one penciler, but there's also another person coming in doing finishes. You have a colorist, two letterers, and then one spoof ad page artist. Okay, those are the basic features of Final Faction. Let's see. Here I'm going to talk about the characters. And I'm not going to mention all the characters because there's quite a few. It's a big team, but I'm going to kind of just mention who's at least on the cover. Okay, so when I read this comic, it was pretty interesting. It's basically kind of reminds me of a little bit like an action hero team. So as you can see, these guys got guns and stuff, and there's this big antagonist right here, and here's our protagonist here. So let's name these guys, okay? So right here you have, this guy's name is Diablo. So a play on words of Diablo. Yeah, okay, so he's the bad guy. You can tell because he has horns. See, he's a devil type. He has claws, sharp teeth. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's pretty much our villain. Right here we have Steel. So he kind of reminds me of Condor from Avengers. Here, this character right here is Echo. This character's name is very generic. She's called Shift, and I believe this guy's name is this guy's name is stupid, man. And if you misspell it, yeah, it's Ruck. I shit you not. His name is Ruck. And then here you have the canine dog, who is Churro. And that's John Steadfast, okay? So these are your basic characters on the cover. And that way you kind of have an idea of who I'm talking about throughout the story. Steel is, from what I could tell, he's some kind of pilot. Echo is some kind of robot. It's pretty much self-explanatory. You can see by how they're dressed, what gear they got on, that you can kind of figure out visually what each person does. You got John here, he's the leader. Shift here, she's like a sword swinging martial artist. Yeah, Steel has this glide suit, so he's like Condor. And Diabol, he's of course the big bad guy. He's the general, and right here in the back tells you who he's about. So he's part of the alien race called the Karn. See, that's part of the aliens that Karn's from. He's the general of the Karn army. Cool. All right. Now these are two other characters right here that are in the book. So now that I'm done doing that, let's review this freaking comic, right? Alright, so those are some of the characters right now, and from that point on, we'll go to the next thing, okay? So the next thing feature is, okay everybody, so going back to what we were talking about before, right here we're going to talk about like the story now, and right here you kind of see, as you can obviously see, you know, it's about some kind of rock kind of hit the moon or something like that. I'm gonna obviously here you can see a boom, so there's some kind of collision, and right here you see this person here, there's the shift, she senses some kind of disturbance and we find out that she has, or it's implied that she has some kind of special mental ability like Jean Grey. You could obviously tell what's going on here. There's these guys that are taking off on an airfield, and they're actually concerned about the fracture in the moon, and so it's an alien invasion story. As you can tell, you can see an alien awakening from its pod, and right there he has a talk with another alien creature, and they start invading the planet. So pretty much that is pretty much how a lot of these stories start, is sort of in like Independence Day. So think of Independence Day, okay? So, and here you see a fight, that's Churro. Another thing is, like you can see in any movie where like they're getting a sports movie where they're getting a team of players together, there is kind of like a recruitment montage. Expect that. Without getting too into it, the team kind of gets together in this book and they join forces. Not all of them get along. There's some obvious personality issues going on, but they overlook them to get the job done. So yeah, and then Ruck, the problem with Ruck in the story with him is he likes to make bad dad jokes. So yeah, but I guess they made this comic for kids, so you know they gotta keep it PG. So let's take that into consideration. But that's pretty much it. I mean, basically there's a big fight at the end of the book, a big conflict. You can see all these giant aliens. And then the team gets together, and then there's an end result at the end. So there's a resolution somewhat, but with a little bit of kind of like there could be more stories in the future. Kind of leaves you at that. So, you know, without spoiling it too much. Alright folks, so now comes to critique time. So let's start with the cover right here. I already wrote down my ideas here for my critique. See, so I wrote down my critique notes so that way I can try to cover it quickly because I do have a few things to go over. So my critique, the way I critique is I'm not here to bash the artists or the people who worked on this comic. That's not my job. My job is just to kind of like help them, to kind of just point out maybe some things that they need to consider. Me as a reader, these are a few things that I'm finding in the book that fixes obvious like errors that I see that I wouldn't see in other comic when I compare it to other comic book companies, you know. So I kind of just want them to do better. So I'm just pointing out some of these things. How would I fix the cover? Really, this cover is actually not too bad. How would I improve it? Well, one way is I would probably put this where it shows or like a box, so that way this reads clearly the publisher's name right here. So you guys need to advertise who publishes you. So we need publisher info, okay? But you guys gave us at least a number 1 and what month and year, so that's something. As far as this thing right here, origin story, I would move this down to the bottom of the cover and put it like here, like this little banner, you know, so you kind of see where I'm kind of going with this, guys. I'll put this down here just to kind of, and then put the banner kind of running across. You could do the same thing over here, right? Another thing I would have done too, and this is a lot of things that when you create your comics, a lot of people, indies, kind of forget to do, but it's very important. Like if you just look at how to draw the Marvel way, they tell you about how to do covers, and one of these overlooked things now and skills in making good covers is and even just talk to even the comic book pros, because this is where I heard it from a comic book pro, and this comic book pro, I'm not gonna mention their names, so I don't want to out anybody, but they mentioned and they have a good point. you want your title to cover as much as space as possible. So you want this thing to cover as much space as possible on the top part. Make it big and broad. That's why I was saying it would have been better if you moved this banner down here, so that way we can more clearly read Final Faction First Impact, you know, and then of course read that kind of going all the way across right here. Boom, up to the head of the villain, you know? That would have been a kind of a better way to go. The pose of the villain is fine. I like the pose of Diable, so he looks good right there. Though the other thing I don't like is this little effect right here on Faction. It's hard to read. It would have been better if you just made this the same. So if you guys just made this the same and this the same, just use the same effect and make that nice and clear, make it that chrome look, that would have been fine. So you guys should have just put the same effects here and have that look chrome-like too, or change the color spectrum on. It's a simple gradient trick that you can do in Photoshop. Okay, so now let's go into the poses. Okay, so right here I don't have a particular problem with how they're drawn. As far as the art goes, I'm seeing characters relatively in proportion. I'm seeing things, the poses are pretty strong. Just some things I would have just nitpicks at this point. I would have made this character kind of looking more toward you and kind of pointing the gun over here, you know, and his arm kind of coming over here with his big chest over here. Like that fist being up there is fine, and then have him zapping toward the screen to make it like exciting, because you want to include the reader, you want to draw the reader in. Now by doing this trick where the lasers are coming out like this and this, you're making these lines, you're drawing the lines, these lines are coming in and making my eyes, you're drawing my eyes into the center of the piece, you know? Same with Ruck here. Yeah, you put his big cannon over here, kind of going along with our homeboy up here and shooting stuff. This one's almost alright. See, because look at the way, I mean, Steel, if you look at Steel, I'll call him Condor from Avengers. Now Steel, this part checks out. Like right here, he's got a good form, kind of goes in nice like that. See, you know, his arms coming out. So this looks good, and this draws your eyes into the piece. And when you're looking at these lines, it draws you into this guy, which goes to Ruck, you know? But aside from that, oh yeah, and then make John Steadfast, I would just change his gun to kind of point more towards over here, and you have this big barrel with this big thing kind of more coming at you over here. Yeah, and then, you know, pointing a gun. And it's better if this guy is looking towards you. You know, so fix him and make him look toward the reader. That way you're drawing us and getting our attention. You know, some characters can be looking away, like how, like if you see Shift, like right here, this is fine with Shift. Shift you guys did a good job with Shift, because again, her lines read like this. So she has good lines coming in, and it's drawing you towards the center. It's actually drawing you toward John Steadfast. Churro is actually pretty decent there. So he's kind of an interesting robot dog. Alright, so that's the cover. Let's go on with the internal critique. Okay, we're critiquing the interior pages now. And so one of the main things that I saw here is that the page 1 on panel 1, the rock looks like it's heading toward the earth, but it impacts the moon. So as you can see here, you have this meteorite, or appears to be a meteorite, and it's coming down. You know, when you just draw a line, we know that from perspective, the rock would hit somewhere right here. See? Okay, I hope that captures it. Yeah, so the main problem with this is this should be switched out. So this should be the moon, and that should be Earth. The Earth should be over here, and the moon's over here. So switch spots, planets, places. Okay, that's confusing to the reader, but then when you look at the third panel, then it makes sense. Oh wait, there's an impact here, and then here's a boom. See, so right there, it gets clear what's going on. So yeah, but from that first panel, people are kind of confused already, and then as it goes on, it makes sense. See, so on page 3, panels 1, 2, and 3, you know what's kind of going on. It's the moon that had the impact from the rock. See, but you wouldn't know that from this place right here. And then you have to draw the rock here in this spot, and the lines would be heading more flaring out this way, going along like this, but at least it makes sense that it's kind of going in this way toward this spot. See, by changing these lines right here, you'll fix that. So that's the other way to approach it. So yeah, that's a perspective fix too. So you could do a perspective fix or switch the planets, but either the point is, in the story, you wanted this was the end result. So right here just isn't clear. So that's what I'm getting at. So that kind of bugged me as a reader. Page 2 and 3. Yeah, so one of the things that's going on over here is you have thought clouds, and thought clouds are kind of outdated now. Old comics, some people like old school comic book readers, they like it, but it hasn't been popular since the 80s. Thought clouds, people don't like to know what exactly characters are thinking. I didn't know that thought clouds were not in vogue anymore, but apparently they're not. So the portrait of the character looks good. I mean, this is a good drawing. I like this drawing actually. And another thing that I would have done different is on these characters right here, I would have introduced that this is shift right here. As soon as the first thing we see about them over here, we should have known, like right here, that this is shift, a box right here, or the second panel, that's shift, and then this panel we need to know that this is steel. This was kind of like I had to go figure this out later by looking around. On their first initial appearance, the first time the reader sees them on the page, you got to let the reader know, hey, that's steel and this is shift, you know, and you do it with these, you can use these narration boxes, and that's fine, you know. But it's good to know who we're looking at, because these next couple of pages, it's a question mark. We're like, who is this person? But then over here, and when we get to here, you fix it. Like here, that's good that you see here we find out this is Diabol, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm finding errors and then I'm finding corrections. It's kind of interesting. So yeah, okay. So here on page 5, just right here again, this is a thought cloud right here. And he's saying feeble weapon. Well, I mean, yeah, you could have made him say feeble weapon just by using a regular thought cloud. But even better, just making it sound like electronic. You know, like those crazy little electronical cloud boxes. You could have done that. I don't know if this character, I mean, this guy looks like he's highly computerized. So he sounds like he would be speaking through a synthesizer like Darth Vader. But I mean, if he doesn't need to be thinking feeble weapon, because we see the feeble weapon right here. It's this stupid fork that he's using from his barbecue, you know? All right. Yeah, here I kind of screwed up my book, guys. I marked it with my black marker and I stained it. So yeah. So this is now worth 25 cents because I ruined my very first issue. It's okay. It only cost $1, so I can get another one. So here we have another thing. We have, again, 2 thought clouds. He's thinking it, like he's thinking this again. He's around his enemies, so he wouldn't probably want to be talking out loud. So here, I would have said that, you know, instead, because they're not using no more thought clouds in comics as much anymore. Yeah, so it's a speaking cloud. So what you want to do is put the conjoined speaking cloud talking to Churro. Okay, so that needs to be cleared up a little better, because that kind of confuses me as a reader. I'm looking here at page 9, guys, and guess what? You guys do what I'm talking about. See? Yeah, it's like here's a speaker, and that's fine, man. This is actually a cool portrait, by the way. So I like that portrait of her thinking. Let's see. This is where I'm like, what's going on? You guys are doing good, and here we are again. And I think there was an obvious on the credits page on the back, on the rear jacket. You guys switched duties, and it's just things were not. Guys didn't confer with the other on certain things, because I'm seeing like simple mistakes that there shouldn't be there. Okay, so here you guys have her speaking twice in 2 segments. So this shouldn't be a point. This should be just a line that connects to the other balloon. One is a pointer, the other one is just conjoined. So you see that right there? It should look like that for this part right here. See? And then right here, like what is this? What's this? You have this balloon right here. So this is like he's speaking and she's speaking, and that's freaking confusing. You conjoined it here, but this is just, at some places this is just sloppy. You need to have this separated. So this should be 2 separate balloons, because these are 2 different people speaking. So yeah, that was just a gross oversight. Yeah, these balloons are really oversized, and the word wraps could have been better. They don't have to be taking up so much room. So you could have had it more like this and like this with the wording, and then you could have had the balloon kind of be like this a little more. Just make that look a little tighter. See? Because you have a lot of empty space looking at the ground here, so there should be stuff here to look at. So this panel's kind of like there's nothing going on here. Yeah, that's kind of boring to look at. So less panels with empty spaces. All right, just have things be interesting. Yeah. So and without revealing any more of the book, that's where I'm gonna stop. But the book has these obvious oversights going on. The final thing I have to say is I would have liked the layouts to be a little more interesting. Like this is very basic layout here, like starter layout comics. I mean, at least the gutters are very clean. Most of the characters, they're not stepping out of panel too much, so it's very readable. Like if you're reading other comic books from other publishers, you're seeing a lot of characters stepping out of the panel and stuff, and they're breaking panels. So the layouts, just some of the layouts look pretty, and without being mean, but they look pretty vanilla. When you look at the panels, they just look very plain. So, like, I would have liked to seen more open panels. Here's one where it's kind of open. You see the whole sky, and it kind of gives you the idea off panel what's going on. I would have liked to seen like more creative layouts designed, but I think this is pretty much a new team of people that were working on this book, and they were just checking off the basics. With my final critique is that you guys need to hire an editor. Don't overlook it. You guys need to pay that little bit of extra money for an editor just to double check the work on all these people. And when you compile all this stuff to form a comic book, to form a product, you got to make sure that from the problems I was seeing in this book, I could tell you that the two letterers, so I'm not going to dox them, I'm not going to read out their names, but they needed to communicate, or something happened where maybe one letterer started the job and the second one had to finish it off, and if that happened, then that's why we see a lot of inconsistency. So that happens sometimes in comics. Like sometimes people come and go and they leave a project, or sometimes there's just a sudden change. Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, that's my critique. Okay, so to end this segment and end this video, which this comic was a serviceable comic. The art was decent. It was all right. I mean, as far as like the art was standard, the lettering, like some of the wording I wish was improved, like some of these fonts. The jet planes were like, yeah, like some things needed more work. The figures though were strong, and I think because they had action figures, they actually could pose these characters, which probably helped the artist to showcase the figures in the toy series. So I mean, this is a serviceable comic book. Consider it's done for a toy line. Yeah. What would I rate it from 1 out of 5? I usually do a 1 out of 5. I give it like just under a 3, like a 2.8 or 2.5 to 2.5. So I only do half. So 2.5 stars. I mean, it's middle. It's a C. It's not the worst thing I've read, like I said. So that's the way I'm looking at it. You get what you pay for in this book. It wasn't a slog to read, but there were some cringe moments, like with this character Ruck, that I was like, Aside from that, it was entertaining. I mean, there's stuff going on. You see characters fighting. There's conflict. There's a small resolution at the end. Right here, you have this spoof page that talks about goofy products like that the old comic books used to have. So that's kind of entertaining. Apparently, with this back page here, like the people who did this comic book, they didn't take it too seriously. You know, that's fine. You know, at the end of the day, it's just entertainment. There's something to read on your bus ride when you're bored at the park, whatever, doctor's office, and you're just waiting in the lobby. So not terrible. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoy this review of Final Faction First Impact. I'll see you next time here at Rob in Real Time. And oh yeah, please comment below and tell me if my microphone on this camera on the KV700 is the sound okay. It sounds okay when I hear it played back, but some some folks are really audiophiles. You audiophiles out there, you know who you are. You're probably gonna tell me use another mic, and I'm like, oh man, but I'm right here, and there's a mic built into the phone, the camera. So I'm wondering if this, at least for this kind of job, is this microphone adequate? I think it is. So, and the video seems okay. So I'll see you guys next time. And oh yeah, please, I hate to beg this stuff. So hey, if you like this content, give it a like, or hit the thumbs up button once, or hit the thumbs down button twice. And if you want to subscribe, go right ahead. And right now I'm infrequent, but hopefully that changes and I can continue making videos. Yeah, so hope you guys like this review. All right, see you next time. Bye.